Attention listeners, Aftersight's annual hike is coming up on July 27th.
It was a really good experience for me.
Visit aftersight.org/hike and become an audio trekker today.
That hike today gave me so much courage.
Public places.
Welcome to Colorado Homes and Lifestyles, where style comes home. This recording is brought to you by Aftersight, and it is intended to be used solely by individuals who are blind or have low vision.
Thank you for joining us for the March-April 2021 issue of Colorado Homes and Lifestyles magazine. My name is Jerry Gingras. Welcome, Matt, from the editor, a standing O for great work. We feature excellence in every issue of this magazine, but our annual Circle of Excellence is special. It's our highest honor and a profound thank you to design professionals who have been raising the bar here for a very long time. I look forward to the day when I can join this crew unmasked for a very tall glass of expensive bubbly. Until then, we offer a heartfelt congrats to the class of 2021, Reagan and John Mattingly of Chalet, Susan Hall of Susan Hall Studio, Stephen Pearce and Chris Gray of Building Collective, and Todd Kennedy of CCY Architects. Thank you all for your dedication to creating elevated designs for living in Colorado. I also offer a major salute here to photographer Jennifer Olson and our art director Eleanor Williamson, who continually work their magic to create portraits and packages that highlight our award winners. Enjoy Circle of Excellence winners' work and insights beginning on page 66. As always, we've got multiple stunning homes around the state. We're excited to show the work of Joe McGuire Design, Cook Design House, and Mandel Incorporated. Our market editor, Eliza Carlson, has curated a superb roundup of accessories with mountain homes in mind. Page 25. And we are thrilled that Boulder artist Jennifer Holfelder left her full-time bookkeeping job to paint instead. See why on page 49. We also introduce on page 112 a lovely young woman who is doing her best to keep Colorado in cocktails. Bless her. Looking forward to an in-person toast soon. Kate Myers, Editor-in-Chief. What I'm loving. Superfab Boulder Design Store creative talent and Boulder mom Elizabeth Prentice has recently opened my now favorite in-town home store, Wildflower Nation. Prentice's curational thought process was inspired by the home of her 103-year-old grandmother. She hasn't changed anything in her house in 75 years, Prentice says. It's so special and speaks to the timelessness of good taste and joy in your home. Prentice's love of vintage intertwines with her belief in green living, reusing, recycling, and purchasing pieces that last. Every inch of the store attests to a talented eye, mad panache, and a love of whimsy. Art, vintage finds, unique home goods, and textiles. A must-stop when you're in CU territory. 2023 17th Street in Boulder. Open 12 to 4 Tuesday to Saturday or by appointment. WildflowerNationSupply.com. A sample that sticks. In the Why Didn't I Think of That category, Samplese makes 12 by 12 inch peel and stick paint samples. $6.95 to $7.95 per sample, with 2 coats of actual paint so you can see and feel what a certain shade from Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, PPG, or Farrow and Ball will truly look like on your wall throughout the day. Traditional swatches aren't made with real paint, so the colors can be off. And unlike painting multiple blobs on your wall, these samples peel off easily. Samplese.com. British designers in situ. I adore loads of pattern and comfy spaces that look like they've been well loved over the ages. All of the above made it impossible for me to resist British designers at home. Hardy Grant, 2020. by Jenny Rose Innes, which includes interviews with 24 designers, Penny Morrison, Veer Grenny, Rita Koenig, and the like, and photographs of them in their own homes. The What Makes a Home chapter lends itself to especially thoughtful reading, scrumptious with or without a cup of tea. $50, HardyGrant.com. Tastemaker, Max Humphrey. Max Factor, how Portland, Oregon-based designer Max Humphrey is reviving a cabin-meets Americana aesthetic that suits Colorado to a buffalo-checked tee. Story by Catherine O'Shea Evans. What do you do after your punk rock career hits the skids? If you're anything like Max Humphrey, who put 50,000 miles on his now defunct band's tour van while performing in every state as part of their record deal with a major indie label, you find it equally consuming passion. I wasn't that kid in elementary school with a subscription to Architectural Digest that you read about, who knew they wanted to be a decorator when they were 10 years old, he says of his New Hampshire childhood. But when band life ended, he stumbled upon another dream gig, design. Now, after founding his eponymous firm in 2017, he's a design world rock star with collections from Thayer Design Studio rugs and Hartman and Forbes window coverings out fall 2021, his own wallpaper at maxhumphrey.com, plus a new book, Modern Americana, Gibbs Smith 2021. Here we talk about everything from how to teach yourself decorating to which Denver antique mall stole his junk shop-loving heart. When your music career ended, how did you realize you were a designer? Going back to LA after living in crappy motels across the country for 2 years, I had a newfound interest in my own space. So I rented an apartment in this historic area called Larchmont that has a lot of old hotel buildings. As grody as it was, I had spent all this time living the band dream. So I had sort of a I don't want to settle and just go back to a job I don't love anymore thought. And then in the background, I was decorating my apartment. Decorating is the wrong word. I was filling my apartment during the day, and I got more and more into that vintage shopping and kind of like, oh, it's there. This is something that people do, you know? And then I had a literal light bulb moment that this, my hobby while I was looking for a job, maybe could be a real job. What did you do to that space that made you think you were good at this? It was a lot of DIY stuff. I painted it nonstop over and over again, like I would wake up in the middle of the night thinking, my living room needs to be teal. So it would be midnight and I'm making a Home Depot run with gallons of paint hanging off the handlebars of my Vespa. I was super into vintage shopping and I liked chatting with shop owners. And the apartment had kind of a wacky floor plan, so I had a lot of fun arranging furniture and rearranging furniture and troubleshooting, and learned about designing it around the way I actually lived, you know? I was just fully into it, and then I was like, oh, there's definitely a job here. I can do this. Then I found a part-time design assistant job at a boutique firm in L.A. I wrote an email to them that was like, I don't have a resume and I don't have any portfolio work. I didn't go to school, but I know everything there is outside of that. And can I come work there? So I got a job. And the rest is history. What inspired your new book? I've always loved design books. I love the internet too, but there's something special about an 8.5 by 11 image rather than a 5-inch image of portfolio work, especially when you're interested in things like detail. Since I'm such a big vintage shopper and fan of stuff that's made here by heritage brands, I had the idea early on to write a book that was focused around design elements rather than design projects. Also, this was my pandemic project. I don't know if it would have happened outside of it. We pitched the book shortly after the pandemic started. What are a few keys to the modern Americana aesthetic? It wasn't like it was a stretch to come up with the 70 that are in the book, because there are so many things that can fall into that category. certain things you associate instantly with an Americana style, and that's things like quilts and grain sacks and buffalo checks and ginghams and plaids. The great thing about those is that they can be used in really traditional ways, or they can be updated in really modern ways. I like a lot of pattern. I like bold colors. I like to be hit over the head with design. What's one of your favorite design rules that you use again and again? 3 of anything's a collection. Do you feel like your design style and the things you like came out of your childhood? A lot of my design is nostalgia-based. I grew up in New England and I live in the Pacific Northwest. Both of those regions have strong style, and there's a connection between the two, sort of, indirectly. There's a strong connection to the outdoors. There's a strong sense of history. And so I think there's an element of New England design in my blood that's taking some time to accept. I mean, I was a punk in my 20s, so that was as far away from the New England Americana dude as I could get. But then you slowly accept it and embrace it. I know you were in Colorado recently. What was your favorite antiquing spot here? I went to a handful of vintage stores in and around Denver, and I wish I had brought up a flatbed truck because I could have cleaned up. I went to an antique mall, the Brass Armadillo. I love that sort of stuff. I'm tireless. I love when there's booths, you know. I look for things like vintage camp blankets and stoneware crocks and old wooden ladders. It was like everything I was looking for, I found. Also, it's always a good sign if you're the youngest person there by 40 years. Inspired Spaces, Mid-Mod Ranch. The designer lives here. A mid-mod ranch remodel gets personal. Story by Bruce Abels. An Aspen native and self-described mountain girl, designer Anna Lambiot spent a long stint near Lake Tahoe, California, before returning to Colorado in 2013. She settled in Denver with her family, husband Jay, and 3 children, relocating her long-running design firm, Studio Lambiata, as well. Her first job in 303 land was naturally remodeling and partially rebuilding the family's mid-century modern ranch in Hilltop. Lambiot raised the roof, vaulted the ceilings, built small front and rear additions, added windows and skylights, and dug out a basement. I loved the idea of taking this ranch and keeping it unassuming from the outside, she says, and making it super cool and fun inside. Originally 3,000 square feet, the home now has 4,500 square feet of living space, yet it remains true to its original intention. The project required 18 months from start to finish. It's way harder when it's your own home because you have to deal with the blessing and curse of being a designer. I'd make a decision, then later when showing a client tile, for example, I'd want that tile, she laughs. Budget was also an issue, but Anna sees that as a good way to limit choices from a seemingly limitless universe of selections. She also likes the idea of mixing price points. I don't enjoy choosing the most expensive of everything, even when we can, because it's just boring. Lambiot's guiding design principle is to go with the timeless and classic and balance that with a fresh perspective achieved by layering various styles. I like design that doesn't feel too jarring. I want to make sure there's a flow and rhythm that makes a home feel easy and soothing. Portrait of the artist, Jennifer Holfelder. The artist was a bookkeeper. Jennifer Holfelder's oil paintings feel like memories brought back to life one brush stroke at a time. Story by Kimberly Beekman. Boulder-based artist Jennifer Holfelder talks about her recent success with an air of humble surprise, almost as though she landed here after tripping on a sidewalk. Indeed, Holfelder, a woman who sparkles even in paint-covered jeans and a t-shirt, never had any intention of turning her passion into her profession. It's the result of a series of now happy accidents. 10 years ago, she started taking an art class once a week with a friend just for fun, she says. It was my happy place. At the time, she was also working as a bookkeeper, raising her 2 kids and struggling through chemotherapy and surgeries during 2 bouts of breast cancer. Cancer didn't make me who I am. It was just a thing I had to deal with. I didn't have a ton of time back then to paint, but I was able to do my class. She eventually taught herself how to paint with oils and became quite prolific, but she never shared her art until 2 years ago when a friend asked her if she could display some of her pieces at a hair salon that had just been remodeled and needed art on its walls. I went into panic mode. I said, "I'm a bookkeeper. I don't do that." That was the beginning of this snowball. She went on to get a gig in a hotel in Soho, New York, had several pieces featured in a Christie's Auction Company challenge on Instagram, and then landed a show at the St. Julian Hotel in Boulder. Then she got laid off her day job because of COVID-19 and started spending more time at her studio, the Oil Loft. It was the biggest blessing, she says. I knew then I had to try to make this work. Her paintings, now in high demand with current exhibits in the Rembrandt Yard Art Gallery and the Museum of Boulder, range from still lifes of everyday objects to vibrant street scenes, but they all have a quality in common. They evoke a strong sense of nostalgia with a side of gorgeous simplicity. Nothing fussy, no overthinking, and that sparseness is what makes them strong. Her brush strokes are raw and her shapes not quite finished, as though they're images from a memory you can't quite fully recall, and yet the feeling of being there is whole and complete. For anyone who's been to Boulder, the instantly recognizable alleyways, intersections, and dining establishments, like the Sink, make the collection feel like a gorgeous scrapbook, both of her life and your own. In her figure paintings, she often resurrects images from her childhood, women in pillbox hats and heels or a swimmer wearing a bright red rubber swim cap that speak to a yearning for a simpler world. I'm a sucker for vintage, she says, laughing. I'm originally from the South, where everyone dressed up fancy. We moved to Boulder when I was 8, and my parents instantly became hippies. It was a tough transition. I wanted the fantasy. High Points, Style Maker, Lee Sinclair and Arlen Preblud. This married couple, she a professor at the Community College of Denver, and he, founder and executive director of We Don't Waste, a nonprofit dedicated to food recovery and distribution to other community agencies, share their favorite things. 1. Colorado activity. We like to go to Boulder with our dog and sit on a patio on a Sunday afternoon before browsing the Boulder bookstore. Our favorite restaurant is the Kitchen American Bistro. Their French fries and tomato soup are superb. BoulderBookstore.net, thekitchenbistros.com. 2. Jewelry store. Lee. I love the Golden Eye in Santa Fe. I buy their ear rangements, hoops, and add on the dangly charms. But my favorite jewelry store in Denver is Fifth Avenue Designs. Larry has the absolute best customer service. He'll help you sell your old jewelry and will work with you to design new pieces. GoldenEyeSantaFe.com, FifthAvenueDesigns.com. 3. Neighborhood. We have lived in 3 houses on the same block in Lohi in the past 10 years. We love the diversity of the neighborhood and that we are walking distance to so many great restaurants, such as Spuntino, Bardo, Highland Tap and Burger, and Senior Bear. Our neighbors are all ages. Some have lived in this neighborhood for 50 years, and some just moved from out of state. 4. Destination. In Colorado, you just can't beat the Broadmoor. In a 1-hour drive, you are in another world. We park our car there and never leave the property. In the summer, we love the pool and spa and leisurely walks around the lake. There's great people watching, and we always run into people we know from Denver or Texas. Broadmoor.com. 5. Colorado artist. We have been buying Mario Rivoli's pieces for more than 30 years. He did the original makeup for Kiss and uses tramp art in his sculptures, traveling to junk shows and flea markets to buy entire sets of anything, such as broken down state fair games, to make his art.mariorivoli.com. 6. Retail store, Lee, Cedar and Hyde in Boulder, because it's so non-traditional. I'm a huge fan of their scarves and the 2 Bisonti purses and wallets, cedarandhyde.com. 7. Eyeglasses, sunglasses. We love fun readers. Arlen wears Theo Eyewear from Optical Shop of Aspen and iBob's Hoops reading glasses, $89. Lee wears Carla Color Lind sunglasses, reader, $220, and the Warby Parker Kimball reader, $95. Optical Shop of Aspen, 308 South Galena Street, Aspen. Warby Parker Cherry Creek Shopping Center. Denver, warbyparker.com. 8. Arlen purchased his Shinola watch when the company first came out in Detroit in an old car manufacturing plant. Now there's a beautiful Shinola store right in the Cherry Creek Mall. The Runwell 47 millimeters, $550, Shinola.com. Business Supermodel, Lifescape, Colorado. Strong roots. From starting a farmer's market in grade school to growing Lifescape, Colorado, Michael Hupp has made a career out of lessons learned from his family's Nebraska farm. Story by Kimberly Beekman. Michael Hupp, owner and CEO of Denver's award-winning landscape architecture firm, Lifescape Colorado, has the photo above hanging in his office. It's a family snap of him and 3 of his 4 brothers, the youngest propped on Hupp's knee, kneeling down among neat rows of vegetables at his parents' Nebraska farm, wearing their matching 4-H T-shirts. Although Hupp didn't know it at the time, that photo would portend the destination to which his career path, which was more like a 2-track safari road, would eventually lead him. It was my mom who pointed out that I had come back to my roots, he says, laughing. She said, "It's all back to what you did in 4-H. Hupp has a bright, easy smile and a realness about him that makes him the kind of guy you'd like to sit around with and drink a glass of wine. His warmth and passion for people is exactly what has made his business so successful. Lifescape has grown 600% since he became a partner in 2006. Our product is not that green, beautiful grass, he says. Our product is the experience the client has with us. The vision of Lifescape is to build lifelong relationships by creating timeless spaces." Hupp credits his father, a Nebraska farmer who passed away in 2000, for his first lesson about the importance of relationships when it comes to business. "This might be dating me," he laughs, "but when the fax machine came out, my father refused to buy one. Even though it would have been more efficient, he preferred to meet with the banker face-to-face." Hupp's impressively diverse career history, which inarguably appends his leadership ability, started when he and his brothers started a farmer's market still in existence in Hastings, Nebraska. "We always got the prime spot on the corner and we made a ton of money," he says. In high school, he was the first employee at a new local landscaping company, and soon he went from watering flowers to managing operations. "I really saw how you can start a landscape company from nothing," he says. In college, he vacillated between wanting to go to medical or business school, working as an intern at a hospital to pay the bills. He eventually chose business and worked for Walt Disney's CFO while he learned his MBA from Stanford. After that, he created his own wine label and then got a job creating shared financial services for Condé Nast in New York City. After 5 years of commuting from his home in L.A. to the East Coast every week, he decided to make another huge change. He wanted to purchase a landscaping company. Hupp moved to Denver and hired the top 5 landscaping companies in town to draft a design for his newly built home. "I paid everyone for their time, and they had no idea I was actually researching companies that I wanted to be a part of." He asked each employee a question. "If you didn't work for the company you are at right now, who would you work for?" The universal answer was Lifescape, because of their true core competency of design. He put together a consulting study and pitched it to founder Charles "Randy" Randolph. It was hard to convince him, but I knew I could grow the business and help Randy retire. Now, Lifescape Colorado is celebrating its 45-year anniversary, employs more than 150 team members, and has won more awards than we have the space here to list. It's not about being the biggest, Huff says. I absolutely want to be the best. Thank you for joining us for the March-April 2021 Colorado Homes and Lifestyles magazine. My name is Jerry Gingras.
You've been listening to Colorado Homes and Lifestyles, where style comes home. If you enjoyed this program, please register for our free services at www.aftersight.org or by calling 303-786-7777.